Cloud9 have made every single Worlds in their existence, so we have some pressure on our shoulders.
In order to make it to Worlds, we have to win 3 best-of-5s. If you lose a series, then you're just out of Gauntlet, and then you have no chance to qualify for Worlds. During the regular season, we were kind of overconfident. After losing to TSM, we're taking a lot more serious approach to the game. Right now, we're heading into the right direction.
So I'd say we're fighting for a chance to really redeem ourselves.
We really missed our chance in the last 2 weeks for like better seeding, but I think we still have a chance here. If we're able to beat C9, I think we can take the whole tournament.
We're coming in as the underdog. People might underestimate us. I believe we can pull through.
Welcome to the 2015 North American Regional Qualifier. We'll be bringing you every minute of the action live from the Battle Arena here in Los Angeles, California. There's a lot of stuff on the line for both of these teams, and everybody's excited as the teams are warming up. Here you see Cloud9 entering the building, going up against Gravity today. Both teams today have got a long road ahead of them to secure that 3rd seed. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson, and welcome to the Golden Age. Woo! Still coming down after their Madison Square Garden High are Joshua Jat Leesman and David Freak Turley, and we want to welcome our special guest analyst from Enemy Esports, Jonas Trashy Anderson. Gentlemen, good morning. How are we doing today?
Wonderful, and damn, it is morning.
It is morning.
Actually morning.
I got the 3 O's.
I got
the
him.
3 O's. They got me.
The first time in a year that I've been correct in saying good morning.
We're starting at 12, so it's like the morning.
Didn't you do this actually like 2 weeks ago? I feel like you did it recently.
Did we?
Yeah, I was casting and you did it last 2 weeks ago.
Okay, but you weren't there to tell me that I was correct. So now I'm correct. And that feels great. Well, for the first time in the North American LCS, we have a #1 team that isn't named Cloud9 or TSM. Now, to honor our new North American champions, CLG, we're going to throw out a special question today on Twitter. Now that we've hit the Golden Age, send us your Golden Age artifacts. Share your favorite memes or pictures of how you're supporting the champs by tweeting at LOL Esports and use the hashtag Golden Age. We'll pick a few to feature a little bit later. Now, a quick programming note. Our games will begin as scheduled at noon Pacific time, which gives us time to talk about that finals. CLG were dominant in the postseason, turning in a perfect 6-0 playoff performance to claim the North American crown and took down their rivals TSM in the process. Now that you've had some time to digest that series, what are some of the takeaways, guys, that you have from there?
Yeah, I just like the versatility that CLG brought into the series. Obviously, when they had the Yasuo top lane, it was something that TSM had trouble adapting to. Even aside from just the pick and ban things, it was the first time that CLG really showed up on the big stage, which had never happened before. And that's still kind of really redeeming for CLG, and it's more just a really great story of how they were able to triumph.
I think one of the biggest points about the games was just CLG just seemed like one step ahead of TSM the whole series, and they just had really good execution, and I think it showed.
Yeah, I honestly just want to celebrate kind of every single person on CLG. I even want to give credit to Huhi in the background here, because Pabulter was up against a really difficult task, going up against Bjergsen, a guy who typically gets a whole lot of help, and CLG has a very high-quality mid laner for Pabulter to practice against day in and day out. I don't know for sure if this is what happened, but I would assume they went for a lot of sparring one-on-ones. Huhi's a big assassin player, so he's a good Yasuo player and whatnot, and practiced a lot of those matchups, and got Pabulter ready for the one-on-ones, because CLG spent all their time emphasizing the side lanes, getting them ahead. The coach did well to get the compositions ready. All the players did awesomely, and it was a good all 9-person CLG win.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I really liked at the very end of that is when they actually went to stage to receive the trophy at the end. It wasn't just the 5 player. It was Hotshot, Zekeslol, Blurred Limes, Huhi, as you mentioned, just like the whole squad was there, 9 or 10 people strong, and it showed.
Yeah, I think that's what really cemented it as a team effort. Even speaking to Hotshot, hearing from him how much of a team effort that entire thing was, the entire organization, much deserved for them. Now, while CLG grabbed the #1 seed to Worlds, TSM still auto-qualified for their 5th consecutive Worlds appearance off of their championship points from the spring and summer splits. Next in line behind TSM with 120 championship points is Team Liquid, which is good enough to give them the top top seeding in this week's regional qualifier. That makes Team Liquid the last stop for Gravity, Cloud9, and Team Impulse as they try to claim the third seed from North America. So gentlemen, as we look at this kind of macro picture of the gauntlet, what are our thoughts here in terms of the seeding, the way these teams are stacked up?
I think the way they're stacked up is pretty accurate in terms of strength. Obviously, Team Liquid is the highest seed, so they will only need to win one best of 5. And in my opinion, I think the teams that are gonna fight for it is Team Liquid and C9. So I'm very interesting to see how C9 can do today if my thoughts on C9 is correct.
So I want to press you on that because, you know, C9 finishing 7th in the regular season, Gravity finishing 4th. They're seated below Cloud9. What is it about the Cloud9 team that makes you think they're going to make somewhat of a run here in the gauntlet?
I mean, it's just the script has already been made, right? Because I mean, Hai left the team, then he came back, then they just barely got into the gauntlet. And then now they're gonna play through the gauntlet, and I mean they're called Cloud9 for a reason, right? It's Cloud9-0. So.
Oh, snap. Wow. So I like that one.
Here's the strangest thing, trying to wrap my head around this thing. Hai came back as the jungler for Cloud9 in week 6. From week 6 to the end of the year, they had 3 wins and 5 losses. So it's like, but at the same time, I still feel like they're strong because they beat TSM in the final game. They won the tiebreaker, which would technically give them a 4th win as well. And now they've had more time. It did seem like every game was an incremental improvement for those guys. And if you think of Hai's natural role as a shot caller, even if he's not as mechanically good, even in solo queue as a lot of the other junglers, you can still tell him being there, supporting Lemonation in the pick and ban phase, and all that working together makes them stronger. The results don't back it up at all. No. But it still feels like they're going to be.
Well, even in the losses, though, a lot of those losses, and this points to the shot calling point that you're making, is that a lot of those losses did look closer. Yeah. And Cloud9 did not look like they were floundering in those losses. You know, a lot when we saw Meteos in the roster, we did seem to comment more often than not when they were on the back foot. They weren't making any kind of trade. They weren't putting pressure on the map and trying to make gains, you know, as opposed to what they were losing.
Yeah, and it really does come down to, I think, individual contributors now, because I think we know C9 shot calling is good. Other teams have gotten better. I would say C9 compared to TSM and CLG and Liquid and everyone else, like that gap in shot calling skill has gotten much shorter. So it comes back again to individual contributors. You have teams like Liquid with amazing players all throughout the roster, teams like Impulse who are absolutely crazy in certain roles, and I want to see who steps up. Incarnation's had slow growth throughout time. He's been pretty good now. Balls used to be a big top lane carry. What's he doing now? Now that, you know, Riven's really big and Rumble's still really big and Rise is actually still seen, like, does he play carry still? Is he going to play Maokai every single game? And, you know, where does this strength come from on the team? And I'm curious to see, like, what C9 does to show up.
I think a good point about Hai moving to the jungle and actually don't need to be mechanical, like on point to win them games, is that he actually has playmakers. Like Incarnation will make plays, Sneaky will make plays. So honestly, what he just needs is to direct them in the right spots where they can make the plays. And then I think that's why I have a lot of faith in the C9, because I actually think that Hai can lead them in the right direction.
I do want to go back to your point about the 9-0 Cloud9, regardless of whether or not it was a joke. Only because what it showcases is the fact that the 2 teams today, if they're going to qualify for Worlds, have to play 3 best-of-5 series over a very short period of time, right? And so let's talk about fatigue factor. Let's talk about the importance of the seeding when it comes to the number of games you might have to play.
I think if you consider all factors, I think it actually slightly favors C9 and Gravity, because while fatigue is a factor, we haven't seen, and okay, it's still 5-14, so the game hasn't like massively changed. These guys have been in the dark for a very long time. Impulse just played a bunch of series. Liquid just played a bunch of series. There's a lot of film in these guys, a lot of tape in these guys, and they have to turn around within 7 days and then play the rest of their gauntlet matches. Whereas these guys, C9 and Gravity, have had time to prep their strategies. They know all their opponents coming out, and pivoting, you know, these guys are going to finish their matches like 3 p.m. today or 5 p.m. today, and then you're playing at noon tomorrow. That's not a lot of time for Impulse to pivot and get ready for the next opponent. So
there is a little bit of precedence as well as a team that's a low seed in a regional qualifier like this actually making it to Worlds. This is the first year we've done this structure of regional qualifier in both Europe and North America. But last year for Korea, Najin White Shield basically ran the whole gauntlet and beat everybody in back-to-back days. So it's definitely not an impossible task, because we've seen it before. And there is a certain element of just getting hot and staying on that streak since the games are so close to each other.
That's true. You can roll that momentum from series to series. You speak of Worlds. We're getting a better picture of who our North American teams will face once Worlds kicks off. Earlier today, we got our first team to come out of the international wildcard, the Bangkok Titans. Then in the European LCS Season 1 world champions, Fnatic grabbed the #1 seed, followed by H2K Gaming. From China's LPL, LGD Gaming has a hold of the #1 seed. Season 3 world champions, SK Telecom, are a lock to represent Korea's LCK, along with the #2 Ku Tigers. And from the LMS, we have AHQ Esports Club along with the Flash Wolves. Guys, we're already seeing some perennial powerhouses lock in their spots. So who do we think are the teams to watch here going into Worlds?
Honestly, a lot of them. Like, I'm actually really more excited for this World Championship than any of the other ones before. I really feel like, I mean, we have obviously the very big storyline, China versus Korea. We finally saw China beat Korea at MSI, so now, okay, that's a really strong region now. So we have, there's no like Samsung, like, okay, it's probably them, or SKT, it's probably them. There's like real like easy like 4 contenders for #1. I'm going to say first off. And then I also think that the Western teams have gotten a lot better as well. I'm excited for CLG. I'm excited for Fnatic, Origin, who I think will go through Gauntlet, H2K. Like, there's a lot of really good teams out here. And so they're going to have a really interesting World Championship. Groups are going to be crazy. Quarters are going to be crazy, and it gets better from there.
Well, we heard Deficio talk about it over in Europe. He thinks that the LPL, the Chinese region, definitely is the strongest, at least in terms of depth. Teams that could compete for the #1 seed. Do you, Jat, feel the same way?
I think from top to bottom, the Chinese teams, like the 3 teams that are going to go from China, collectively will probably be the strongest 3 teams at the World Championship. But with that being said, the team to watch for me is SK Telecom. They're already a world champion from Season 3. They have returning players, especially in FLICKR, and they have never looked, to me, as dominant as they have in the Korean League this year. They had that incredibly long best-of-3 winning streak. They just 3-0'd the finals when a lot of people were thinking that the KT Rolster team was going to be able to take them down, and they just shut them completely out last night. So I think the experience as well as the hype and the fact that they have kind of the Korean pride all resting on them makes them probably the biggest story coming into Worlds for me.
I think for me, since I had some former teammates actually qualifying for Worlds, I used to play on team with Fibivin and some of the guys from HCK. So personally, I just want to see how they do. And then for the first time, we're supposed to have a competitive team from the EU, and hopefully CLG will also show up. So for me, it will always see like how well these teams like CLG, TSM, Fnatic will do against the teams from the other region.
Well, without a doubt, Worlds, as you mentioned, Freak, is shaping up. Do you have something to add?
Yeah, one thing that's exciting to me, as you're mentioning you want to track the European teams, I don't think expectations have ever been lower for the North American teams. I'm waiting to see them break those expectations. Last year, there were 2 North American teams that made it out of group stage. And I don't think they've gotten much worse, but expectations are that no one's going to make it out. So what's the worst that could happen? They meet expectations.
There you go. All right, we're shooting for the stars, gentlemen. NA, here we come.
I mean, for the first time, CLG actually showed up for playoffs, so I mean,
that is very true.
Why are they not just going to win Worlds, right?
Yeah, I actually put myself on record a couple days ago and said I think there's going to be 2 Western teams in the top 4. So that's a lofty prediction. I'm really hopeful personally.
Can I push you a step further and ask which 2?
I mean, it's really up in the air. Like, I think that there's a lot of teams going to be good. If I had to like place bets on them, it'd just be like Fnatic, CLG. But like,
take the top seed.
Yeah, I think 4 quarterfinalists, 2 semifinalists from NA and EU.
Wow.
That's my bold prediction.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Has Freak ever been right?
Wow.
No, very rarely, actually.
There's your ammo.
Very rarely.
There's your ammo for later. All right, well, as you did mention, though, this is shaping up to be a pretty incredible Worlds this time around. Turning back to today's showdown, though, Cloud9 used to be the undisputed kings of North America, but this split avoiding relegation was a major coup. Sneaky shared with us some of the challenges the team had to fight through.
I'd say I definitely have thought a bit more about, like, not being on Cloud9, just because we're in such a bad spot right now. I don't know if it's like a real thing or if it's just because we're losing all the time that I'm even thinking about it. It's really hard. I think we could still get to top spot, but it's just like thoughts that go on in my mind. The old C9 where we came in, summer split, 2013, season 3, we were a pretty amazing team. I don't know how we did it, honestly. We kind of just came together as friends, went up to a house together, played a month before, practiced together, just won every game somehow. I would say our strengths as a team We're just being really strong team players, all on the same page at all points. I would say we felt pretty indestructible right after we won the playoffs for the summer split, Season 3. We hadn't dropped the game at playoffs at all. We were going into Worlds with the bye. We felt pretty unstoppable there.
Cloud9 does not drop a single game in the playoffs. And look at that. They are a team that is the best team in North America.
I can't really point to anything that's obviously different. Like, I know nowadays all of us have egos that have to conflict with each other. Like back in Korea, there was a lot of like arguments between Lemon and Medias and other just random personalities clashing all the time, which didn't happen when we first came on the scene because we understood how to play the game, but didn't really have any like results backing us. We never really had seen success before. So that may have been a big part of it, honestly. What we're lacking now is being on the same page on what we're trying to do. Things will be happening across the map where we're not actually having an advantage. Last week against Gravity, Jensen got jumped on mid, but we were thinking about making a play, so Jensen was far up for that reason. And they had Shen ult up, they had TP, and then Ball CP's in, and both of them die.
Coach on the zoom for this. Keen flash. Incarnation just got that kill. They want to soak that money back up. He actually may get out of this. No! The hit from Keen finally lands, taking out Incarnation. The fight as well onto Balls. He teleports right into the fight.
So it's just like a play that we knew wasn't actually good to go for. We just go for anyways. It's just like a lack of focus. I'd say the biggest struggle for me personally is just trying to make the team atmosphere like as good as it can possibly be. I know sometimes I can participate in it being bad or even being good. So as long as I can like pump it up to make sure it's going to be good all the time, then I think that's the best I can really hope for. I know they have to be a unit as a whole, and even I have to be a part of that. Every day I still enjoy it. I want to play as much as possible. I think it would be pretty rewarding to get together with this team and really bring ourselves back to the top. Since we've been together for so long, even if it's just 4 of us, maybe 5 of us, maybe bring Medios back, high mid, I don't know. It would be really rewarding if we got back up there with that team. I don't know if it'd be similar if I joined a different team. I honestly don't know, but we've been around for so long with each other that it would feel really great to get back to the top this one.
You know, an interesting case study in psychology, really. A team that qualifies, does incredibly well, as Sneaky pointed out, egos grow, then have to interact. And then as the team begins to perform less well, how do those egos deal with determining what are the factors in doing poorly?
I mean, we've seen cases of that. XDG went to Worlds, like, as, what, number 3 seed out of NA, like, 2 seasons ago. They, like, beat Fnatic in their very first game at Worlds. They brought Gambit really close. They brought the old Samsung White really, really close. And then they got relegated the very next split after going to Worlds. And C9 was a tiebreak away from doing the exact same thing practically. Well, another split later, but still. Yeah, and it's, you've got to learn how to recollect the teams, especially if you're not used to losing. You're not used to picking apart flaws and fixing them again.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot less to decipher. You know, it kind of points back to our point earlier about, you know, momentum going through this series. You know, if they do win this first series, do we think that you know, kind of that positive, that upward motion is going to be more of a boon to Cloud9, a team that was struggling and is doing better than any of the other teams in the gauntlet?
Not necessarily. I think C9 is always on the upswing. Like they already like got together and started playing with High again. So I think just the change of High was that like upswing they needed. So obviously in such a close weekend where they play the game so fast, momentum is going to be a huge thing. So I think that's why I kind of have a favor for C9. I think they're going to win today, and if they win today,
they're going to carry it through.
They can carry it through, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of nice that we had this feature on Sneaky to show right here, because I do think it's going to be a fairly AD carry focused series. I'm really wondering if Lulu's going to have the same priority here in North America that it has had in both the LPL finals as well as the LCK finals, and also whether Sneaky or Altec are going to be willing to play Kog'Maw, because pairing those two together on AD carries as skilled as Sneaky or Altec could very well decide the series.
One good point about the AD carries is that the AD carry role is so flexible right now. We still see some Sivir play, we still see Kalista high priority, But on the other hand, we see in Korea more rise of Ash, which I know is a sneaky favorite.
I would love to see Ash today.
And still, like, he still loves to play Jinx. So there's so many different picks in the AD carry role that they can pull off. So I'm just very curious to see what they choose. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting for me.
All right, well, there's going to be a lot to look forward to in this series. For more now, let's send it over to the guys who will be calling today's series. That's back to us. That's more of us.
Woo! Just kidding.
It's not. We're not going to call. There it is.
Thank you very much, Dash. You guys look fantastic, but we do need to take over for a bit. Hello, everyone. I'm Rivington Biz III, and saying yes to the desk with me today is my co-caster, Aiden Zyrene Moon. Always a pleasure to be up here. We didn't get to do anything at MSG, so let's get right back into it.
Yeah, I got to do Analyst Lounge, though.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
Together you mean? Together. Yeah, we didn't get to hang out together. We did afterwards, but still, honestly, Madison Square Garden was amazing, but back in the LCS studio, back in home, this is also
our
amazing.
mini Madison Square Garden here. Gravity versus Cloud9 coming up shortly, and this game is definitely going to deliver. I wonder how Gravity is going to be doing. These guys are kind of like passing each other on the slope. Cloud9 was going up at the end. Gravity is going down, and they're meeting in the middle. So I don't know what's going to come out of this match.
Yeah, both teams are coming into this with redemption on their minds. Cloud9, they want to make Worlds for basically every time that they've been in the LCS, they've made Worlds. They haven't missed one yet. They want to get back up there. They finished 7th. They were on that upswing. And Gravity, they had their hands on #1. They were looking like they were going to go to Worlds for a bit there in the middle of the season. But then they just had this slide down at the end. So both teams, we haven't seen them in a couple weeks. So what have they done in those few weeks to prepare themselves for the regional qualifier?
Almost. Yeah. It's been quite a while. Watching what Cloud9 has been doing, if Incarnation said, you know, that pressure is on the team because we've made Worlds every time. I'm looking at the pressure like solely being on him and how much pressure that is. He's the guy that actually hasn't been the one that's gone to Worlds each time, and he's the one who is stepping up at the end of the split. Can that still happen now in what would be his first best of 5 that he has tested on the stage?
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy to think about. This was the guy that at the beginning of the season, we were watching him missing CS in the mid lane, struggling. He had a huge turnaround at the end of the season there when High came in. More resources put into him, able to use them. Went back for comfort picks like Orianna and Ahri, basically Season 3 champions, right? He's just going back to his roots there. But this is his first competitive best of 5 as the pressure stacks on. And he's going to be playing 3 of them if they win today, back to back to back. If they continue to win, what's that pressure going to be like on his shoulders? Can he adapt? Can he come into the next game? And he also has to deal with keen counter picks all 5 games.
I was just going to say, red for Gravity all the games, definitely going to make that hard for Incarnation in the mid lane. He'll see the pressure for sure. Right now, don't touch that browser. We'll be right back after this quick break to kick off Game 1 between Cloud9 and Gravity.